and welcome to the League of Logic podcast, a podcast where you can learn how to think for yourself. Check out our website at leagueoflogic.com, where you can learn more about who we are and what we are doing. We have some information and some study tools that cover some of the topics that we have covered and continue to reference back to in these episodes. Please leave us a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you are using. Comment and like if you're watching the video, and subscribe, follow, share. Keep up with the channel. Help us. Subscribe is a big one. Help us get the word out in what we're doing. Thank you for listening to the League of Logic podcast. Now get ready for a much needed conversation about truth.
What's happening?
It's a good week. Everybody have a good week?
Yeah. Great week.
Oh, yeah.
All my money's going away in petrolatum.
Yeah.
How many times do you fill up your gas tank every week?
Once a week with our car, since Michaela works in Raleigh, and once a month from a truck.
Man, that's nice.
It is nice.
How about you, Brian?
Once a week, each vehicle.
Each. Filling my truck up at least 3 times a week.
Well, stinks to be you.
Stinks to be me. Yep. And then before it went to $4, when it was only $3.80, it was costing me $80 and some change every time I filled it up. I ain't the smartest man in the world, but that adds up to a whole lot of money every month. And everybody wonders why prices are going up.
Mm-hmm.
Everything comes to us on a truck which uses petrolatum.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Makes you think about getting a Prius.
Yeah. A car so gay it has a lisp in the name. Prius.
Mm-hmm. Me and Michaela, we thought about getting one. And then all my friends at the union, they were like,
all right.
They were like, brother, you don't want one.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'll test drive it. And then after I test drove it, I was like, I don't want one.
Yeah.
You put a pipe rack on it?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's what they said. You just go get a Civic or, something that gets good gas mileage. Where are you going to put the ladders?
Mm-hmm.
How do you carry? I went to car shopping this week for Nicole, and the guy was like, look, you can fold down all these seats and put 2x4s in. That's funny right there. He had no idea who he was talking to, but it was funny. I was thinking, you really could put a 2x4 in.
Are you talking like an 8-foot or a 10-foot or?
It would have, you could put a 12-foot, but you'd have to leave
Wow.
the hatch open and let it hang out the back, which I've done. Remember that Honda Cross Tour I had for so long? Boy, that was a great work truck. I was putting 8-foot 2x4s in that thing.
I remember your CRV,
Yeah.
but I don't remember the Cross Tour.
I had a Honda Cross Tour. It was like a hatchback Honda, like an Accord. It's a hatchback.
Mm-hmm.
And I could put 8-foot lumber up on the dash all the way through the back. I loaded that thing down so much I wore a set of tires on the back out on the inside because they were like, it was great.
That's awesome.
Redneck.
Yeah.
I saw one guy who didn't have any space in his car. So what he did was he had them at the store lay the wood on the ground. And he put some straps up underneath it, and he drove his car under it and strapped it to the bottom of his car.
Bottom. That's awesome.
Dude, what?
He drove his car over it, and then he pulled the straps over top of the car and yacked it up so it's on the bottom of the car.
Yep. The wood was on the bottom.
Genius.
Yep.
Had exhaust marks.
Yeah, burn.
It was going to
funny.
do that anyway for the.
Yeah, for the effect. Yeah,
drive,
burn wood.
drive shaft is acting like a router. Chunks of wood flying out the back.
So
Oh, my goodness.
why are gas prices so high?
Because the pipelines closed down.
Yeah, that is probably the best answer. Yeah, when we're still buying Earl.
Big.
From Russia.
Because
Mm-hmm.
America won't use their own resources.
So they wasn't that long ago that gas was very cheap. Why was gas so cheap then?
Because the pipeline was open.
Oh man, you're kidding me.
Who
No,
opened it?
nope.
Yeah. So you mean we actually know what would happen if we opened it up?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I think we were the #1 exporter of oil at that time.
We did become a next exporter of energy all around. We did. Yep. People were buying energy from us, which sounds like a good thing. Whenever you're $30 trillion in debt, you need to be selling something, right? So like if you're in your house and you're running out of money, you got some bills coming up, but you can't go to work enough to pay it. You got to have like a yard sale or something, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Sell some of your junk, make some extra money. Same thing applies. I ain't the smartest man in the world, right? I'm not an economist. Is that how you say it? I can't even. Yeah, there you go.
Economist.
See, I can't even speak English.
For a moment, I was like, I had to run that through my brain. I was like, I know it's not this. What is it, Andrew?
Me too,
Come on.
but I couldn't figure out what it was. But everybody keeps talking about we need to punish Russia for what they're doing. Punish Russia. Well, look, stop buying oil. And not only that, start selling some of yours. That's all they got. We talked about it last week. What are the two things that Russia has?
Ice
Ice
and oil.
and Earl. Right. We can't do much about the ice, right? They're going to always they're going to hold the market on the ice. But the oil we can fix.
And it's not really like a yard sale either,
No.
because our reserves were busting open, man, filled to the brim.
Man. Oh,
We just had an excess, an abundance.
oh, Joseph Biden. Did y'all listen to the State of the Union address this week?
I listened to like the first
I was.
15 minutes.
I didn't.
Is that what you call that thing?
Yeah. I watched the whole thing, but it was only so you guys didn't have to.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was
I
bad.
actually did want to, but I didn't.
Man, there were several things that he said that I actually couldn't help. I laughed. It was so ridiculous that I laughed. One of the things he said, he was talking about costs are going up. Inflation is a terrible thing. Inflation starts with the small business who can't afford to buy the materials, so then he has to raise the price of the product that he's making because he's getting. You see what I'm saying? It all works hand in hand. And so his great idea for slowing down inflation was not for producers to raise their price because that makes inflation worse, but it was to lower the cost of doing business.
Genius.
Why didn't I think of that? I thought, you moron. Do you seriously think that business owners out there are thinking, I don't really care how much my products cost that I need to make my business work.
Mhm.
Just as long. Oh, you mean I could make those? You can't make them go lower because that's what inflation has done.
Mhm.
It has raised the price.
I was screaming to the guys the next day at work about it, which none of them watched it anyhow.
Yeah.
But like, man, when you look at your profit and loss statement, it's like all your expenses is on inventory and employees.
Yeah. Every bit of
Payroll.
it.
Every bit of it. And it's like your inventory is way off the page somewhere right now.
Mm.
You have no control over that. None.
It was
Dumbest statement ever made.
it was the dumbest thing ever.
You were laughing. I was screaming at the
Yeah.
screen. I was like, you idiot.
He kept saying things like, we're going to cut the cost of medicine. We're going to cut the cost. You realize what cut the cost means, right? You know what that means? For the liberals out there, let me give you a definition. Government handouts.
Mm.
Where do they get the money from? Well, they're not collecting enough taxes, obviously, because we keep going further in debt, which means we're spending more than we're making. So where does that money come from? You have to just print it. So we're creating our own debt by making more money. More money chasing fewer things is the definition of what creates inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no wonder that it's going so high. We've had going on 3 years now of government spending with no really idea of where it's going to come from in the first place. And the thing about inflation is the first year that they print a bunch of money and put it into circulation, when they call it, that's what's called a stimulus package, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's about to be vulgar. I better not. It's right before you get screwed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because what happens is there's a lag between the stimulus going out and people thinking, "Whoa, I got a lot of money," because the prices are still low at that point, until inflation catches up with, the guys out there arguing over cheeseburgers for $2, and then I'll pay $3, I'll pay $4, I'll pay $5. Oh no, there's no more cheeseburgers. I'll give you 20.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this like year lag. And so we're running right now at about a 9% inflation rate.
Which is insane.
Insane. And I am willing to bet 25 cents, which is about all I got left after filling up my gas tank, that by July or August, that inflation rate's going to top 10, 11, 12%, somewhere in that range.
Around 12.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to let you. You got to go back to the pharmaceutical thing, man. Look, if y'all didn't see it, Biden had this. I think the kid was 13, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Had him stand up and everything, and him and his dad are on insulin. And he was complaining about how insulin has gone up, what was it, 300% or something? No, it was Biden that did that.
Biden absolutely did that.
People have already forgotten that when his first day in office and he signed those executive orders, that their insulin went up, and people were all over social media. Women were crying about they can't afford it for their kids anymore. It was Trump who run it all down.
Yep.
It was Biden on day one who wrote the executive orders and knocked it all out, and the prices drove up again. And now he says he wants to put a cap on it at $35. That's just absolutely insane, man.
It's
insane.
all,
And people have forgotten already.
this is what drives me crazy. And I had no idea what we were going to title our talk today. I just kept putting in there, "Don't be distracted, don't be distracted," because they keep telling you something opposite of what they've already told you. And if there's anywhere you can learn about the law of non-contradictions, listen to that one and then go look at your government. Because the other thing that he said during that thing that I thought was hilarious was he says, "We have to start funding our police better."
Defund the police movement.
And they like
Burning down cities.
like it was their idea. And what? Y'all remember the defund the police movement, right?
Yeah.
Whose idea was that? Was that the conservatives?
No.
Are you sure? Because if you listen to his speech, that's what you would assume, that Democrats have always been on board.
It was the investors of BLM that pushed the list.
Oh, I think it had something to do with our vice president.
Well, she may be an investor. That's why I said investor of
Oh,
BLM.
yeah. She pushed it.
Because BLM is a company.
It was.
So I saw this tag at the bottom of one of the articles I was reading this week. And it was like a questionnaire, little survey thing. And the first question was, which of the following issues do you feel is the most important for the federal government to take action to resolve?
0.
Environment, education, infrastructure, roads and bridges, or prescription drug prices. And I was like, where's the option for none of the above?
Right. If anything, just work on the roads, man. I mean, that's what
I was
That's
thinking.
what I
Like,
pay taxes for.
If you work on the roads, I'm okay with that. But I think everything else needs to be privately run.
The leave me alone button.
Yeah.
Please leave me alone. So anyway, now you have this terrible speech from the State of the Union, and then the fool had the nerve to say that our State of the Union was strong. And I was like, well, is he in the same place we are?
Well, I did hear this on the radio. Like, did you expect him to say anything else?
No.
Like, it's for him to get up and say, Yeah, I've really screwed up the country right now. I mean, he almost had to lie, you know.
Oh yeah, I never expected anything less. And I would just be honest with you, I feel sorry for Joe Biden because I don't know that he is cognitively able to understand what it is they are making him do. I have no doubt that he is not the one who's making all these big decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no doubt whatsoever that as he stands up there and just looks confused, that they're just taking advantage of an old man. If you and I were doing it, we'd end up going to jail for, elderly abuse or something. I feel sorry for him. But I thought it was an awful coincidence that just before the speech, Nancy Pelosi decided, oh yeah, we probably don't need to wear a mask in the house anymore. Did COVID go away? Do we even know? How much do you hear about the Covigi Desi Novi now?
It's over. It's gone.
What is the main thing that we hear on the news right now?
War.
Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine.
War is the new COVID.
So what is it that you should not be paying attention to?
War.
Yeah. If we've learned anything, whatever the news is telling you, just go ahead and be like, put your fingers in your ears. I probably shouldn't be obsessed with that. If they're obsessed with it, I probably should not be obsessed with it. That's good logic right there.
So,
Agreed.
there's a passage that I want to read that talks about this. I mean, since you brought up war, it's in Mark chapter 13. I want to read through that.
Wall.
Because it seems like all the answers to all our problems in life seem to be somewhere in the Bible.
It's amazing. It's almost like it was written by a creator who knew what was going to happen.
Chapter 13, starting with verse 1, I'm going to read 13 verses. And as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples saith unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answering said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately, Tell us what then these things be, and what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled? And Jesus answering them began to say, Take heed lest any man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, ye shall not be troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in divers places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils, and in the synagogues you shall be beaten, and you shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. And the gospel must first be published among all nations. But when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate. But whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye. For it is not you that speak, but the Holy Ghost. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son. The children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
It's almost like he knew what was happening.
Yeah. There's a lot in there, too. Obviously, we mentioned, the big one, wars, rumors of wars. We hear about earthquakes of the past several years, famines, and all stuff like that. This week, I heard somewhere that there's this man in Australia that claims to be Jesus Christ. And he's got
That's awesome.
a following of a bunch of people that
Believe
he is, and some of them believe that they're reincarnated and were with him at the crucifixion and some crazy stuff like that. So, and it's written, hundreds, thousands of years ago.
That's amazing.
But it's all happening just like the Bible said it is. If there's one thing with all this confusion going back and forth, not knowing what to believe, what to pay attention to, we do know there is one source we can trust,
Absolutely.
and that is the Bible,
Yep.
Yeah.
God's word.
One of the benefits of this war happening, and wherever you side on whether you're for Russia or for the Ukraine or whatever, when war happens, it puts the conversation back in the Christian's court. Whenever you're talking with people, someone says, "Oh, this war is horrible." You can very easily just say, "Well, why is it horrible?" I know why it's bad. Why would you say it's bad? Because war comes down to another moral question. As we've learned through the League of Logic, moral questions are great for conversations about Christ. And so you can turn you might not be able to win somebody right off the bat by having a conversation about war and the morality of it and why, but you'll be able to challenge their beliefs and make them think. And that's a really good step.
Let me tell you how morally correct we're being right now during this war, our army and stuff. The Washington Free Beacon. As Russia wages war, U.S. Army trains officers on gender identity. This is what we're focused on in our armed forces because we are so tough. We have to get this morally correct. And so I don't know if you know about the armies and stuff, but they have these things that are called I call them vignettes. And that ain't how you pronounce it, but they're basically these watch this. This is called visual aid, people. For all of y'all listening, you have to go watch the Rumble. This is actually from their document. Policy on the military service of transgender persons and persons with gender dysphoria training module.
That's what the war's for, is to distract from this.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. This is what they're training on. This is what they're worried about in our armed forces. Transgender soldiers are subject to the same standard as any other soldier with the same Deere's gender maker. I don't know what that means. This is no gender dysphoria. Soldiers who are assigned male at birth says he identifies as a female. Ready? Soldier lives as a female in his off-duty hours. He has no medical diagnosis, does not plan to seek medical treatment, and does not experience significant distress related to his gender identity. Soldier is not requesting to be treated as a female while on duty. That's just one. So he has no gender dysphoria. No diagnosis. Soldier is assigned a female at birth. She tells her first sergeant that she identifies as a male and would like to be treated as a male. She has not yet seen a military medical provider. The idea behind this is what drives me nuts. While Russia wages full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the U.S. Army is putting its soldiers through training on gender pronouns and coaching officers on when to offer soldier gender transition surgery. Like you ain't got nothing to worry about in the armed forces. So you're going to get stuck on what pronouns I'm supposed to call somebody and whether or not they are mentally disabled enough to want to chop off body parts and snip and tuck and things like that. Is this intimidating to you, by the way, if you're a world leader and you have a military over there that can't tell the difference between boys and girls?
I was listening to some military podcasts. This Navy SEAL was talking and having this conversation. I think it was two Navy SEALs talking together, and they were asked, "Well, why the SEALs? Why did you want to move up to that level?" And one of them said, I forget his name, but he said, to move up from the craziness of just people that just want to be in there to be there.
Right.
They want to do something more and actually be there for a reason. So they don't want to just be abusing the system. They wanted to push to something better.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there. And let me be clear. I don't support Ukraine or Russia. Mm-hmm. I think they're both corrupt countries and we have no business even being involved with it. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But looking at this, I want to throw this out. In 2017, Putin gave a speech, and where then he was even asked about invading Ukraine and his aggression toward Ukraine. But maybe this will open some people's eyes. Putin is completely against the New World Order, and he doesn't like liberalism. And most citizens in Russia don't like liberalism. But this is what he said about the West, and you look at this document right here, what they're trying to distract you away from seeing.
Yep.
One point that Putin made, he says the West denies their Christian roots. A second point, the West denies their moral basis, or it has become relative. This includes their traditional identity, national religions, culture, even genders. Another point he made, politics of the West treat families with many children equal to homosexual partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another point. In the West, faith in God is equal to faith in Satan.
Yeah.
That's coming from Putin.
Mhm.
And he's not lying.
And he's not lying about it. And he hates it. That's kind of spooky, man.
Mhm.
Even Putin gets it.
Even Putin gets it.
Yeah, this document that we're looking with the Army, and for those listening, which I guess I'll say because my wife listens, it's basically a scenario and then responses that you can give, you know, like treat the soldier with dignity and respect and all that crap. But it doesn't surprise me that this would come up because even though we do have the war, there's still like the advancement of liberalism, like what we were still talking about, you know, trying to make everybody inclusive and all that stuff. That's one of the things I really don't like about the age that I live in right now. And it's not that I can change it, but, you know, we're living in an age where gender dysphoria is not seen as a medical issue. You know, it's almost like saying, oh, you're extremely depressed. Okay, well, we have support groups that'll make you feel like that's normal, you know?
It's
And-
that
and
mental issue, yeah.
Instead of treating depression or anxiety, we're accepting it and we're saying, that's just how I was born. That's how I've always been my entire life. It's just who I am. And, you know, like, that's a load of crap. You know, gender dysphoria, whenever it was first started, excuse me, I was drinking some Coke. But whenever it first started, it was a disease that could be treated with, you know,
Bullies.
well, not bullies, kind of.
When I was in school, we treated gender dysphoria with bullies, and they
Exactly.
stopped.
Well, that is a way of doing it, but you could treat it with like taking treatments of lithium. I believe it is what it was, and that was a lot like a chemotherapy. But at the end of all your treatments, you are fine. You did not have gender dysphoria anymore. And we live in a culture and a society that just kind of says this is okay. Even Disney has started coming out with stuff like that. They have one movie that came out as Soul, and it's basically
Terrible.
what this, it's not even really heaven, it's like a pre-life or whatever, but they're
Yeah, right.
designing souls, and they're basically saying, all right, all these souls, they're going to have anxiety, and they go into this anxiety place, and you're like, oh, ha ha ha, that's so funny. But what that teaches children, because it's ultimately a children movie, is this is how you are. There's no way you can change it. You're just going to be that way.
Right. God made a mistake, or God made you homosexual, or God made you anxious.
Yep.
Yeah. It's terrible. And so I don't even know that I think we would not have the issue had we never started saying that it was acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right now, if people murdered somebody, would you say, well, you know, he's just a murderer, he can't help it? Would you say that? What if you did? What if we began today, everybody in America decided, you know what? Some people are just born murderers and they can't help it. They just have this thing about them. It's ingrained in their DNA and they have no choice, but sometimes they're just going to act on it and they're going to kill somebody. And, you know, we just need to be accepting of that. Robin wakes up today, I identify as a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds ridiculous.
That's already begun,
They've
man.
already started that.
If you watch the debates with atheists, Christians and atheists, they say it all the time. They teach that in the universities. It's not a moral issue. You don't kill people because you refrain from killing people, not because of morals, but ethics.
Yeah, ethics.
It's all ethics. You know, society dictates ethics, what's moral and what's not, and to go against that is ethics. They have it completely backwards. You know, no, that's already started. It's already here.
They've started doing that with pedophiles too.
Yeah. This is the thing I'm talking about. For a long, long time, murderers, pedophiles, homosexuals, everybody knew that ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, particularly like when I was in school, if you decided you were if you acted like you were gay, we let you know that wasn't right. Maybe it was the wrong way. I don't know. I don't think it was the wrong way, to be honest with you. I know that sounds bad. He likes bullies. No, I don't. I got bullied some, and I bullied some. But we had people that pretended, thought that they were going to be gay, and boy, they understood that you wouldn't be accepted if that's how you were going to be. I'm not sure that that's not necessarily it's always a bad thing. I guess it could be, but nah.
Yeah, I'm on your side on that.
My dad growing up, I have 4 brothers, and my dad would tell us, every once in a while, I'm raising men.
Right.
And one of the things I remember growing up that, he would always say, act like a man and don't act like a wimp. And one of the instances I was thinking about was, playing basketball or running across the court or whatever. You might be running across the court and you're tired, and you know how sometimes you'll run across the court and you'll let your wrist hang.
Yeah.
You shoot the ball and then you let your wrist hang. Some people do that. Dad said, stop that. No,
whatever.
Don't even do that.
The appearance of evil. That's bad. Yeah.
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah, it's toxic. That's toxic. So anyway, we'll get back to this thing. So you got the media that's out there, and it's feeding us a narrative over and over again of the war now, right? And if we can all agree that if just based on a history of what the media has done for us, particularly over the past 2 years, whenever they are forcing something down your throat that you need to be paying attention to, normally that means that there's something else that's going on, or this is really not a big deal. They're just trying to teach me how to think. What then are some other things that are happening in the background of our world right now that they may be trying to cause a distraction from?
The Great Reset.
The Great Reset is awesome. Yep, that is absolutely one that is happening. What other ideas you got?
I think that's it. I think that he just nailed it. I really do.
Yeah, if you go into a few more specifics on that, where's COVID? How did that stop so abruptly?
Well, COVID has been a very considerate disease, as we've talked about before. It got the flu to not hit us for a whole year because it was in play. Now it understands that we're at war, and so it's like, all right, well, I'll kind of back up a little bit, let them have their war, and then it might come back.
I think it just transformed into the war.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
So, so we had COVID's bad. Get vaccinated, vaccine. Wear your mask. And then all of a sudden, they were like, people started waking up to that, and I think something's wrong. I don't want to wear a mask. You get things like this, just a news article, Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine converts to DNA inside human liver cells. A new study says, have you seen this study?
Mm-mm.
I got the actual medical journal one of it too, by the way. I'll post up there. Basically what happens is inside a lab, they take the COVID-19 and they're injecting it into, and I'll give it to you, it's in a lab, it's not in the body, right? But they're putting it into live liver. And inside that live liver, what's happening is, if I understand the journal correctly, and someone who's smarter than we are can read it and let us know, they put the shot in your body, which then generates your body to create these like T cells, stem cells type things that then your body's immune system goes and attacks. And when it does that, it forms antibodies that are supposed to be the same antibodies that would then fight off the coronavirus should you ever come in contact with it. These shots were designed to make a short-term production of the T cell things so that you would make them like one time when you got the shot, your body's immune system would attack it, and then you got the antibodies. But what's happening is, and particularly in this liver cell study, is that it never stops creating the T cells, the stem cells things. So in other words, what's happening is your DNA has changed to the point that now your body just continuously produces these. Therefore, your body's immune system has to continually produce antibodies to fight it, and your immune system is become deficient.
And what is that called?
There's another name for that. It
AIDS.
starts with AIDS. It's an immune deficiency disease. Okay. And so that's a big study. Now, I'm going to give it to you because I don't want to be the guy that's out here like, everybody's going to die of AIDS. This is in a lab, right? It is not in a human body. But why aren't they starting to look? I mean, if you got a Pfizer vaccine, wouldn't you want to know if this was happening in your body? I mean, it altered your DNA. And there's the medical study that says it. It's got lots of big words. Intracellular reverse transcription. I don't know what that means, but it's got English in the rest of it. You can read it. That's one thing. You got this COVID thing. I had a family member just this week spend 1 or 2 nights in the hospital. They woke up in the middle of the night. Their right arm and their right leg wouldn't move, and they were slurring their speech. What does that mean?
Stroke.
Everybody, stroke. They get to the hospital. They do all the scans. They do all the blood work. They do all the tests. No stroke. What's the small version, the TIA, whatever that stands for, where it's like mini strokes is what it is?
Yep.
They have to do a different scan to find out if you had mini. This is why they kept them another night or a little longer so they could do this scan to see if it was just a mini stroke. Nothing. They don't know why. But I do. Because I had just that same week, last week, read an article about a man who woke up in the middle of the night and the right side of his body would not move and felt like it was burning. And it was a side effect or adverse effect of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add to that. I haven't told you about this. I didn't call you this week and tell you. I spoke to the pharmacist for about 30, 45 minutes listening to him go on and on and on and on about this stuff. This is one who carries ivermectin. What they found, especially like among a lot of the vaccinated, that after they go through the ivermectin treatment, for 5 days, that a week or 2 weeks later, they have like a relapse of COVID. And what the frontline doctors are finding out, that somehow in their body, they're reproducing the spike protein.
That's it. The spike protein, not the T cell.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. The spike protein.
Thing the vaccine does. So they actually, once they eliminate the COVID with the ivermectin, the body turns around and creates COVID again within itself.
Mm-hmm. That's what I meant. It was a spike protein. I got it wrong. Not T cell, stem cell. That's what that study was.
Now the frontline doctors have found a medication. I don't remember what the name was to prevent this from happening. They're starting to use that medication along with the ivermectin. Or just keep them on the ivermectin for a longer period of time, but to keep their body from reproducing the virus. So I think that was the intent to start with.
Yeah. So I actually, just this morning, by the way, our League of Logic account is up at Truth Social. Ooh, yeah. At the League of Logic on Truth Social. We're on there. And so they're just opening up to a few people at a time, and they're working out bugs. And I mean, it's working, but as I think I was like 150. And so there's probably maybe 200,000 on there now. And so as you just play with it, you get to give feedback on what's happening. And so you've got all the bigger people that are on there, the Devin Nunes, and obviously. And one of the things that they put out this morning that I was looking through was if you still believe that the NIH, this is the place that Fauci works for, is on your team, just go to their website, nih.gov, and in the search bar, type ivermectin and cancer. And man, I did it, ivermectin and cancer, and there are article after article where this National Institute of Health, ivermectin, a potential anti-cancer drug.
The guy who found that he's spent 30 years of his life trying to get it approved for that. And he has CT scans,
Yes.
brain tumors. I mean, study after study after study at 30 years worth where they've cured brain tumors with ivermectin.
They got anti-parasite drug ivermectin can suppress ovarian cancer. Ivermectin as an inhibitor of cancer stem cells. I mean, it's just one study after another of the effects of ivermectin on cancer. Breast cancer, ovarian cancer. I mean, they're all nasal targets the renal cancer. They've got nasal pharyngeal, which was what Pops had. I mean, there's all types of different.
Get on YouTube. There's people who put their own videos out about taking not only ivermectin to hydrochloroquine, taking both of them and being cured of cancer or keeping the tumors at bay with it.
Yeah.
There's doctors who know this stuff. It's been around for a long time, man. 30 years this doctor's been trying to get it approved and has hundreds of cases. Hundreds.
But it's too cheap. There's not enough money in it for cancer treatment.
You don't want to kill a customer.
You don't want to kill a customer. That'd be bad.
For those who don't understand that, because I didn't understand it the first time I ever heard it, kill a customer, it was explained to me as why do you not have hot water heaters or water heaters, that last for 30 years or 20 years now? And one guy said, you don't want to kill a customer, because if I make a product so good that it lasts for 20 years, you're not going to come back to me for another 20 years.
You don't have any residual income.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so
We
that's
learned about that in engineering school. Design school, there were a couple of factors that we factored in. One was a safety factor. We always had to make it, safe to a point. It wasn't always 100% safe, which, by the way, we can design things that are 100% safe, that will not fail. We're not that dumb. We can do that.
And that will last forever.
That will last forever. That is possible. It would cost a lot of money, right? So economics comes into it, and I'm not saying that we always need to do that. But on the other thing was we had to have a fatigue or a failure point, which we know it's going to fail. So what then becomes the acceptable fatigue or failure spot for a car motor or a toothbrush, any of these things, right? Because we can make it to last forever. Think about this. We have a diesel engine in a truck. We have a diesel engine in a Farmall tractor. Which one lasts longer?
Farmall.
Why can't we make the truck last that long?
You can.
You can. Anyway. All right. So you got COVID is slipping away, and they realize it. But also inside of this, we got to send some money to support Ukraine. Fox News, White House says the COVID-19 money on empty as it ties approval to the Ukraine aid. They are sneaking in more COVID money, which is government handouts to keep you on their team. Cut the cost, people, like old Biden said. And they're putting it in Ukraine because now everybody's like, yeah, we need to help Ukraine. So what better way to get more government spending than to tuck it inside of a bill that everybody's on board with, because that's what the media has told us to listen to.
And that's what the media has done, has got everybody on board with Ukraine.
That's exactly
which is one of the dirtiest countries. I mean, they are corrupt, man. Seriously corrupt.
So another article from Fox News, CDC loosens COVID-19 indoor mask guidance, included for schools. This is happening all across the country, but nobody's making a big deal out of it anymore. It was a great big deal. We need to mask everybody up. And now they're saying, we're fine. We don't, but it's like really quiet. Why would we not be celebrating that? I don't understand. Right?
I don't know. Maybe because they paid Hunter Biden $200,000 a month.
Probably so. Probably so.
I tell you what, people really need to look at one of the things that gets me bad. Zelensky's cabinet member, the blonde-headed girl, it was all over social media. Her standing in her living room with her AK-47. She's taking up arms. She's going to fight for her country. That picture went out everywhere. And then they interview her. And what does she say? Yes, we will fight for Ukraine and for the New World Order.
New World Order. Yeah, I heard that. Said it out loud.
That's all they want. That's what Ukraine wants.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be part of they want to be part of the Great Reset. Mm-hmm. I mean, it tells you too that Soros supports Ukraine.
It's the money laundering place of the whole world.
Exactly.
And that's where they're getting their money. That's where they get, because you've laundered money before, right, Andrew?
I mean, I accidentally let some go through the washing machine.
Yeah,
Is that what we're talking about?
Not the same. Not the same. It's when you go like,
I was upset when I lost that $20. Like, what?
that's kind of what money laundering's about. You have a $20 bill that's dirty.
Uh-huh.
You put it in the wash machine and it comes out as a 10. Because the wash machine, right? Because the wash machine keeps a little bit from making it clean for you.
What?
That's kind of how Ukraine is. It's like the laundry machine of the dirty laundry of the dirty money laundering scheme.
Man, I would be pissed if my washing machine took $10. I'd be like, get out of my house.
Yeah, but before you had 20, what was worthless because it was dirty because nobody would take it. Now you got 10, you can go spend. So you steal 20 that's dirty. You can't do nothing with it. You give it to the washing machine. It turns it into 10 that you can use. You just do it over and over again. You got tons of money.
Oh, so
That's
it gets
money
dirty
laundering.
because it's stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, like my mind is just like,
Dirty money.
I got a $20 bill that I dropped on the ground.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the Clintons have jumped back in too. Bill Clinton's the Clinton initiative has jumped all up. It's come back
it's
out.
all worldwide.
Oh yeah, it's all back at Ukraine. When George Soros pushes it, man, you know, the World Economic Forum is another one. They're all behind it. Support Ukraine. I feel sorry for the people in Ukraine. I do. I really, really do.
Yep.
But I feel sorry for Russian people too.
Mhm.
We just have no business over there, man.
Nope.
This whole thing is not what it seems to be.
Nope. You know, the other thing that's happening in the background that nobody wants to talk about? Every day now, something else comes out about the election fraud
Mhm.
and the rigged election from 2020.
Mm.
Just like almost every day. Several this week, Wisconsin, special counsel bombshell. They went to 91 of some nursing homes, 95 to 100% voter turnout out of these nursing homes.
Did you watch that?
I did watch that.
I mean, there's like no way you can't say this is wrong. They actually went in and talked to the people, thousands of them.
Yep. And this is just the 91 that they've studied. I'll say, look, that they didn't study all the nursing homes, and so they've got a lot more to go through. But how many do you have to have before you realize that they were cheating
There were thousands.
to the old people? Right? They're still looking though. That was one. You got this the Durham report coming
Oh,
out.
John Durham.
Yep. They've learned more and more about what's going on in the Clintons and the investigation and how they hired it. And this Rasmussen guy, whatever their attorney is, who's asking them to throw out how they spied on Trump and they planned all that. All these things are coming out. They're writing reports about it, but you got to dig really hard for them. And the mainstream media is not talking about it. And I can't understand it, because if everybody really does want a free and fair election where it's honest, why wouldn't you want to know about that?
And who were they joined at the hip with on that whole thing? Russia.
Yep.
And
You got in Arizona, the Arizona Senate studied an estimate of 200,000 ballots that got counted and the signatures didn't match.
there it is.
I mean,
That's a lot of votes.
wasn't that many votes that were different that caused the election to sway. You got the
And that was that many votes from where?
from Arizona.
From Arizona only.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Arizona Senate studies estimates.
Because they're going around through. They're just going through the
Wisconsin,
states.
Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia,
They're
Michigan.
racking up numbers.
Are they going through the states that there was a lot of question about, or
It
are they
started
going,
with those, but it ends up being almost all of them.
Every state should be doing it. Some states are not because they don't care,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
So it did start in the big ones that were the flip states. It were the ones that states that Trump was supposed to win, and if he had won those states, he would have been reelected.
Mhm.
They were counting on it because all the polls and everything they had done said we're going to win these states. So that's Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. He didn't even need all of those, but those are the ones that are the big deal.
That particular one in Wisconsin, they took a retired Supreme Court justice there and appointed him as special counsel with all powers.
Yep.
And he went after it, man. And he come up with some ugly stuff.
You got Dinesh D'Souza. His 2,000 Mules is coming out very soon.
Can't wait for that one.
Why don't they have commercials for that? You know what I mean? Every other movie in the world is supposed to be great and important, and you have a trailer that shows on television.
I think the State of the Union address kind of tells you the answer to that.
Yeah.
Because after, what's her name, Bobart, the girl's name? MTG that stood up and they yelled about the 13 Biden left in Afghanistan. And then Nancy Pelosi gets up there and says, they just need to shut up. They just need to shut up. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lindsey Graham was in on that one too. Man, he's a rhino.
He's definitely a rhino. I saw a picture of him earlier. It was a picture of Lindsey Graham, old man, hair and all, but the face was Hillary Clinton. They do look alike. They do look alike.
They think a little bit alike
They
too.
do think a whole lot alike. That's what it's all about, man. It's about teaching people what to think, right?
Mhm.
They are telling you what to think.
Mm-hmm.
They're distracting you from what's really going on so that you don't understand what is true. And it's, don't forget, man, it is the spiritual battle. These things that are going on, they say we're supposed to be hurting Russia with the sanctions. Man, it ain't hurting Russia with sanctions. Maybe over a period of time, they will end up doing something economically to them that they'll lose. But again, I'll give you the perfect example of how it would work if we started producing oil. Okay. Right now, everybody buys oil from Iran and Russia. All right. We have decided that we are not going to, if we would decide we're not going to buy oil from Russia and make our own and start putting it out there, we would give Russia competition. This is how capitalism and the free market works, by the way, folks. Y'all pay attention here. It works. So Robin opens a gun shop in Smithfield. I was the only gun shop in Johnston County. Things were lovely, right? We were doing great. Next thing I know, there's another gun shop in Smithfield, and then another one, and then another one. And next thing you know, there's about 6 gun shops in Smithfield. And what I get in my store are people driving in. They come inside. Do you have such and such a firearm? And I say, yes, I do. What's your price? So-and-so said he would do it with this. Can you beat that price? And it got to the point where you had to sell a ton of guns to make it, to pay your bills, because they had driven the price of firearms down because of the competition.
Mm-hmm.
They drove the price of the firearms down so much that I decided it wasn't worth it anymore, and I quit. I did. I couldn't make it. They run me out of business. We could do the same thing with Russia.
We could, but we won't.
But we won't. Instead, what Joe Biden has decided to do is to beg Iran to produce more oil, and guess who he wants to use as the mediator of this negotiation? Take a guess.
To run with.
It rhymes with Usher.
Pusha?
Close. It was so close. Russia.
Oh, Russia.
It's insane, man. Totally insane.
This is the leader of our country. He thinks it's a good idea. Well, first thing he said in his State of the Union, what he's going to do is he's going to release 60 million barrels of oil from our strategic, say it again, strategic reserve.
But I think that was collective.
Oh, that was across the world. We only did 30.
Yeah, that was part of the UN.
Yeah.
They're all going to release some.
Do you know how many barrels of oil we use in a day? 30 million. He's going to give us one day out of the strategic reserve. Why do you strategically reserve anything? Because strategy means you're planning ahead for times when it gets rough, right? Mm-hmm. We don't need to do that. It's there.
What's one day going to do in the scheme of we need oil?
Oh, it's a blip on this radar, man. It is nothing.
So ultimately what we're saying, start greasing up your bike chains, Get a new seat that's comfortable. 'Cause
I would not be surprised because peak season for gasoline is in the summer, is it not?
Yep.
Is that not when the prices hit the highest?
And I don't think Putin cares because while all this chaos is going on, he turned around and cut a deal with China. They're tapping into the pipeline.
Yeah.
He's just going to sell it to China. He don't care if America buys anymore.
Why is fuel energy so important?
all right.
It's
You talking about it in grand scheme or on
Yeah,
the
just on the
local
grand-
person?
Yeah, for
it's how
both.
products get around.
Mm-hmm.
It's transportation. It moves the economy.
It affects every aspect
Literally.
of the economy, literally.
Folks, it replaced gold.
Yeah,
Mm.
it did.
Our
So-
Federal Reserve is not based on gold anymore. It's based on oil.
It's got to be. So think about it this from because real estate, that's what I'm good at, right? Real estate. So here we have a family who goes and gets pre-qualified for a loan. Everybody in here's done it, so you know what it's like, particularly on your first try. The first time home buyers drive the market in any real estate market because the people who are like, oh, they usually have settled in or they don't have to move. So you have all kinds of categories, but the first time home buyers, that's it, man. These people that are coming up, they're going to buy their first house. When you get ready to purchase your first house and you go get pre-qualified for a loan, 9 times out of 10, the buyers max themselves out on how much they can borrow because they want as much house as possible so they can be like mom and daddy.
Mhm.
It happens every time. And I see 100% financing or VA loans with 103% financing, no money down. And they say, well, I can afford $1,200 a month. How much house can I buy?
Mhm.
And they go out and they buy this house. Now, what's different this time than happened in the crash in 2008 is that most of them are at least smart enough to get fixed rate loans. So the payment will always stay the same. However, if I can afford $1,200 a month and my gas that I put in my car is $1.75 and I'm maxed, and the gas that I put in my car goes to $5 this summer and I still got to go to work, where does that extra money come from?
It's not just gas, though.
I'm just saying, this is just
Food,
one aspect.
Food,
Yeah,
everything.
one aspect. So this is how inflation is affecting everything, and the fuel and the energy independence is important because now you got a person who can no longer afford $1,200 a month, and even though they have a fixed rate, the inflation has driven the cost of everything else up. Unless they start eating dirt and riding a bicycle to school, they can no longer afford their house payment.
Mhm.
And
Cut
this
all
is
the
what.
breakers off in the house.
Yep. Well, you can't afford power because power comes
Power,
from fossil fuels too. Let's just be honest.
Yep.
And this is how you create a economic crash and burn. And you'll see it start to fall with the real estate market. Now, in the real estate market right now, I'm scared to death. I'm working with buyers right now. We're out there and we're looking at, I had a dude, we just offered $10,000 over on a $320,000 house, new construction, which normally it's just whatever. If you offered a price, you're good. And he lost it. He did not get it. Now, if you're selling houses, that seems to be lovely, but it makes Robin nervous, son, because that stuff can't last. VA, 103% financing, $10,000 over market price.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Right before all this took off, my wife and I were looking, we were going to try to buy a house. And then when we realized that was happening, people shooting, $30,000 over asking price and just driving. Yeah, we were out. No,
Yeah, just wait.
It ain't worth it.
Just wait.
It's setting people up. It's predatory lending. That's what you call it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the way I see it. You're setting people up to fail.
But all of this ties back into inflation, which is called by government overspending. It's fuel going out the roof because you have no competition in it and you refuse to produce your own. Terrible, terrible decisions by the current administration. And then you have a Pino, president in name only, stand up there and give a State of the Union address and tell you that everything is lovely. And America knows that he's a liar. 41%. This was a Daily Mail. Remember Daily Mail, longest titles in the world?
Mhm.
I just read you the title. Only 41% of viewers reacted very positively to Joe Biden's State of the Union, the lowest in 15 years since George W. Bush addressed Congress in 2007. CNN poll shows.
CNN.
Man.
Wow.
Anyway, I think the whole deal is going on right now is one great big distraction from the Great Reset, from a failed administration because we're getting ready to go into an election. And over again, they have to teach you what and how to think so that they can then manipulate you into doing what that you're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Per them, I guess.
I don't think it's working as good as they want it to, though.
It's not, and they're panicking. They know it.
Yep.
It's a desperation thing. Hawaii was really big on even Americans. If you're going to come to Hawaii, you have to have. They didn't quite go so far as to say you have to have a vaccine, but it's really the only state in America where you had to be tested before you got on the airplane, like you were going international. They were that paranoid about it. I mean,
They still are, right?
They're getting rid of their vaccine testing this month. You don't have to be tested before you go. I mean, just saying, one after another, those things are falling off. And
I'm glad.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
my family's out west, and I'm not going to Hawaii, but with all these restrictions cutting off, my wife and I were talking about it. If the vaccine restriction happens, our travel stops.
You got, if you can't drive, you can't go.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Right now, today, I'm supposed to be in Brazil, but they have a vaccine. You have to show proof of vaccine before you get on the airplane. So I am not in Brazil.
That's one of the ways you can help fight the restrictions is don't send your money to the places that are requiring it.
Yeah.
Like, Andrew mentioned that a couple weeks ago. Vote with your dollar.
We went into a board game store a couple of weeks ago, and I had just gotten paid, and I was like ready to buy about $120 worth of board games, because that's just what I do. And walked in, and the guy was like, "You have a mask?" I was like, "Nope." He's like, "Well, I got one over there." I was like, "I don't wear a mask, man." He said, "All right, well, have a good day." I said, "All right," and turned around, walked away. I was like, wow, a business owner that doesn't need money.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
And there was no mandates or anything like that, because we were in Cary, and I think Cary was like the first place to lift there.
Cary and Raleigh were bad.
They were pretty tight about it there.
Yeah, they were bad about masks. They were weirdos because they're a bunch of yuppie, liberal Yankees, whatever the word you want to call them. They are bad.
Yeah.
I heard that they were the first people to lift their mask mandate.
Not Cary. That's
sure?
where our business is. Yep.
Hmm.
They have now, but they were not one of the first to lift it.
It was weird,
They were before Wake County, before Raleigh. But
Out of the big cities, we were the first. I don't know.
Johnson County has never been real strict on that.
man, I tell you, during the peak of the Ronta, I went in to get my concealed carry permit, like my renewal done.
Mm-hmm.
I walked into the sheriff's office, no mask. Nobody cared. Yes.
We'd been used to that environment, in
Yeah.
Johnson County. And then it was several months ago, we went out to Asheville.
Oh, man. That's
And-
the libturd's place of North
Just-
Carolina right there. That's like the
I
toilet
wasn't
bowl.
thinking about it. And then we had this conversation, my wife and I, on the way. I was like, if they ask to ask, I'm walking out. And so I didn't do much. Going to the
Go
stores that
anywhere.
weekend.
I
Yeah.
didn't do a whole lot.
I didn't.
Yeah, you look, it's when you go to places and you understand. Like, so when we went to Brazil last year, you had to wear a mask everywhere. Whatever, man. I'm not in America.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that they don't have the same type of things we do. I wore a mask everywhere that I was supposed to wear a mask because it was Brazil. Get on an airplane, as stupid as it is, wear a mask. but I'm not doing that at home.
Mhm.
I'm not doing it. And whatever that makes me, that's what it makes me. But I can't do it. But it's going away now. COVID's gone. It's all about a Russia war. And please reelect all the liberals. And all I'm saying is, don't be distracted. Don't forget. Because that's what they want you to do. That's what the distraction's for. It's like, pay no attention to all the junk we just subjected you guys to. Reelect us.
That's
please.
part of the tactic of, going back to the Great Reset and restarting everything.
Yes.
Is you have to forget your history.
You have
That's
to.
part of tearing down statues and all that.
Perfect.
BLM.
Yeah,
stuff.
we're not talking about a long, long time ago history. We're talking about,
Yeah.
look at what they said 6 months ago or
Yeah.
12 months ago.
Yep.
Recent history.
Perfect example. Perfect example.
You have to remember the past to be able to correct the mistakes
Absolutely.
and to avoid doing them again.
That was the reason in high school that our teachers always gave, why do we have to learn history? So you don't repeat the same mistakes.
Mhm.
That was the only reason they ever gave. It was a good reason.
Yep. Well, what else y'all got about today?
Nice and warm and beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day.
I don't really have anything about like today specifically, but something I've been thinking about a lot this week. If
Okay.
You guys want to hear about it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Now, I'll give everybody a warning because it's pretty intense.
All right.
Oh boy.
This
So-
is the perfect place for intense conversation.
Yep. Andrew's random moments after the show.
We're going to have to get a little intro tune for that.
Yep.
Andrew's random moments.
Oh, man. That would be awesome.
Like a Blues Clues song. That's what it reminded me of. Somebody thinking about Blues Clues.
Can we actually do that? Because I would really like that.
I'll see what
Have like a special button
I'll see
on
what
the
I can come up
side.
with.
That'd be awesome. Random moments with Andrew. So I was thinking about whenever I was out in Utah, and like now I see a whole lot of things that are going on with the country, and it can make you feel, like you don't want to be in America or that you don't like America. And I've talked with several people that have been like, you know what? Hey, I wouldn't mind going and living, I don't know, in Brazil or in China or wherever. It doesn't seem like a bad place. When I was in Utah, I had a foreman that told me to look up a website. And it was the website that catches like all the death threats from like if the media says, we're not going to put this out because the general population can't handle it. This is where they came to this website. And you could watch like people falling off cliffs if you wanted to or something like that. It was really intense. Well, at this time I was like, yeah, America's great, but I'm sure there's other countries that are pretty awesome as well. So I got on there and I watched one clip or one full video. And it was of a Mexican lady who was being executed.
What is this, live leak?
I'm not sure. I don't remember the
Probably is.
name of it, but I remember what their like logo was. And it was like a woman with a stake jammed through her, and she was over a fire.
No.
That's not live leak.
No, that's why I say this is pretty graphic, because this website was intense. But I watched this Mexican lady, and there was a whole bunch of guys standing behind her, and they said, this lady, we think that she's been sharing information with the other side. And there was no proof or anything like that. It's just what they thought, and they said it's going to cost her a life. In which they then proceeded to cut off an arm, and they cut off another arm. And the whole time you're watching that, you're watching this lady bawl and cry and like plead with them not to do this. And they cut off one arm, and with her other arm, she's trying to stop them. They cut off her other arm. Then they cut off her head and cut off her legs and put her in a body bag or in a trash bag. And video's done. And I was like, holy crap. America is awesome.
Yeah.
I love America. And I think that's one of the things that I wish instead of teaching critical race theory in school, I wish to graduate, you had to go to this website and watch what it was like what their justice system or how the cartel operated in these other countries. You know, I feel like it would be great, you know, because some people say, you know, oh, America's so trashy and America's the worst. I hate America. You know, our cops kill black people, whatever, whoever you're talking to. And like you go on there and you see this and you're just like, man, America is the greatest, like nobody else. And you could watch videos from Afghan, from Iran, from China, wherever you wanted to watch. And I was just like, man.
We did when I was in school. We had a certain amount of, in our history classes, of patriotism and pride in the country that was sort of taught to us while we were in class. It wasn't as much as it was, you know, even back a long time ago. But they're absolutely trying to teach the kids that America stinks.
Mm-hmm.
That way they'll be on board with it.
Trump put that one in. He banned critical race theory, and then I can't remember what it was called. The law he enacted was it 1776 something or
Something
another?
like that. Yep.
Yeah, but Biden, as soon as he got in there, he wrote an executive order and got rid of it.
Yep.
All right, I'll give you the last thing, comic relief, because that was kind of intense, man.
It
I
is
hate to
intense.
end on the fact that we're chopping off ladies' arms and legs and stuff. So here we go. So in the midst of being distracted and being told what to think by the media, you end up with fact checkers. Anybody been fact checked before? I only get fact checked like once a week.
I've heard a lot about them.
Fact checkers. So PolitiFact, which is a fact checker from Politico, which is not a right wing at all. It is very liberal fact checker. This is hilarious. It's in a townhall.com article. PolitiFact falls flat on its face trying to fact check Maria Bartiromo. Anybody know Maria Bartiromo? She's a Fox Business host on Fox News. She makes a claim that they fact checked, and hers was, and I'll show you the screenshot. I'll put it over there when I get a chance. It says, we have doubled our oil imports from Russia in the last year. She wrote that in February. So during this past year, during COVID, since Joe Biden has taken over, he has cut off our pipelines. And let's be honest, what that means is he is sanctioning our people way more than he is any other country. He's costing us. He cuts off our supply, and he buys twice as much from Russia. So she just wrote, quote, we have doubled our oil imports from Russia in the last year. And PolitiFact says that is mostly false. The U.S. did not double oil imports from Russia in the last year. That's what he says. He didn't. And says, so if your time is short, read these points that PolitiFact is going to tell you why it was mostly false. And one of the points says, the U.S. did double the amount of crude oil imports from Russia last year. It says so right in their points. So basically, they told you she was lying. The U.S. did not double imports from Russia in the last year. And then the point underneath it says the U.S. did double the amount of crude oil imports from Russia in the last year.
Yep. I think they accomplished their goal, though.
They did. Nobody read the points.
Yep.
Nobody read the
I
points.
was about to say that, you know, most people are looking for headlines.
That's it.
I mean, even myself, I'm guilty of how can I get information fast on whatever I'm looking for? And, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
Rush Limbaugh, man. Read the whole article.
It's almost like people that sign pamphlets or stuff like that without ever reading it. You can go on YouTube and watch guys that have like pamphlets, and he's like, "Oh, this is for no slavery in Africa or whatever, or like feeding children," and they're like, "Oh yeah," and they take it and they sign it, and the paper says, "I hereby certify that I'm a moron because I did not read what I was signing." And he's got a huge list of people's name, and at the end, there's only like one person, one old guy that was like, "This says I certify that I'm a moron." He's like, "You're the only guy that's read it," but you can find that everywhere.
That's how Nancy Pelosi pushes things.
Yeah.
Just sign it. We'll figure out what's in it later.
You have
That's what
to
she said
sign.
about
You
that.
have to approve it for us to know what's in it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man. Well, look,
Yeah,
don't be distracted, people. You got anything else?
no, I got some good words from, why am I blanking on his name? You just mentioned him.
I did.
Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh. There
I
you
don't know
go.
why. Anyway, I got some good points I learned from him. Know your enemy.
Yes.
Reject the premise.
Reject the premise. I've heard these before.
Use your powers.
Yeah.
Have no fear. and stay on the offensive.
Stay on the offensive. Don't be distracted, people. They are trying their best to tell you how you need to think so that they can control the way you live.
Thank you for listening to the League of Logic podcast. We hope that something we have said has made you think, or at least made you mad. We want you to look for and know the truth. Please send us a comment, question on our website. We have a link in there. We'd love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you are using. Also, subscribe to the channel on podcast or video platform. Please, that'll help us out a lot in pushing what we're doing. We also have a store. Check it out. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, a lot of other things like that, even a backpack. Thank you again for listening to the League of Logic podcast. We look forward to you tuning in on the next episode.